Hey everybody, Nick here from Aquarius Supply. Hope everyone's doing well. This evening's topic is going to be on calibrating a push spreader. So let's get to it. Some of the topics we're going to be covering are calibration. Why do it, how often, and how to calibrate. So, calibration, why do it? Ensures product is being applied at proper rates. Too much and you're wasting money and possibly breaking the law. The label is the law, so we want to not waste money and break the law. Two good reasons to calibrate. Also, too little product and you're not being effective. So there's rates given on the bag. For example, a fertilizer granular with pre-emergent, we want to make sure we're applying at the proper rate. So if the product calls for 5 pounds per thousand, we want to make sure we're putting out 5 pounds per thousand and not 3.5 or 4. Because that's going to waste our time and doing a callback as well. So time is of the essence. Like your fingerprint, each person is unique in his or her way of fertilizing. Not everybody is going to walk at the same pace. Some people are going to walk faster than others. So this is also another important reason why to calibrate. How often? As often as you feel necessary. I like to calibrate if I have any type of new product. If I've already calibrated a product and I'm the one applying, I know what it's at. Nothing much has changed because I've cared for my equipment, which is important to do. I've always washed out any spreader I've used as soon as I was done. Would grease any grease fittings, Zerk fittings, any type of PB blaster or WD-40 in any gears to make sure that they're lubricated and limiting the wear and tear on my spreader because it's an investment. They're not cheap. So we want to make sure that they're well taken care of, because it'll take care of us. And again, I went over someone other than the last person who's making the application, that person should calibrate. So if I make an application to a lawn, Jim is not going to walk at the same pace I am, so he might be at setting G where I was at setting C. So just an example. And again, products vary in particle size, shape, and weight. You might have a product that is larger than the other one. For example, an SGN particle size of 225, and then you go to product B and that has a particle size of 175. So that's something to also take into consideration. So now, how to calibrate? A little picture here interpreting that the applicator just sets it for G for green, and the properly calibrated spreader is not happy about it. So don't be this guy. Choose the calibrated spreader over any free willy-nilly setting on your spreader. Here this person went out with G for green and they got it. They also missed a lot of areas that needed to be green. So he went out for J actually, just enough, and it just didn't cut it. So another reason to calibrate. Some of the equipment you'll need while calibrating will be the spreader itself, a scale, 5-gallon bucket, measuring wheel or tape measure, and the material you'll be using. So first step is to determine how much material you want to apply per 1,000 square feet. In our example, we want to apply 3/4 of a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. The material we chose is 2503 with 3% iron. How many pounds of fertilizer will we need per 1,000 square feet? Little Tristani tidbit. To determine how many pounds of fertilizer you need, follow the simple equation below. What you want divided by what you have. So again, we're going to bring up this example. We want 3/4 of a pound of nitrogen. We have 1/4 pound of nitrogen in the bag. Remember, the analysis grade on the fertilizer bag is a percentage of the bag. So this bag contains 25% nitrogen, 0% phosphorus, and 3% potassium. We take 0.75 and divide that by 0.25, and we get 3 pounds of fertilizer of 2503 per 1,000 square feet. Will this product green up the grass? Yes. The 2503 and 3% iron contains nitrogen and iron, two elements that are going to provide a green up in the turf. So another tidbit here, any product containing nitrogen and iron will provide a greening effect. If your turf is deficient in magnesium or manganese, correcting that deficiency will also provide a greening effect. Whenever using a product that will green up the grass, split the rate of fertilizer in half. This is important. why. The distribution from a rotary spreader is not equal. It's not equal across the board. The number of prills in the middle will not equal the ones toward the edge. It will look more like this, a bell curve. More of the material will be out in front of the spreader and less towards the edges of the throw. Again, this means just what I said, less fertilizer prills toward the edge. So if we overlap 50%, we're getting that even coverage of passes. If you don't cut the rate in half, however, though, from 3 pounds, as we determined in our equation, to 1.5, we're going to be using 50% more material because we're overlapping. So instead of 3 pounds, we're going to be using 4.5 pounds. And when you don't cut the rate in half, you're just throwing money to the wind into my Mercedes-Benz. All joking aside, I'm here to help you guys, and your time is of the essence, and so is your material. You guys have margins to hit, and we want to be conscious of that. So we want to train our employees to the best of our ability to make a proper application. Once you determine how many pounds of fertilizer you want, you now must figure out how far the spreader throws. You're going to want to load about 5 pounds of fertilizer in the hopper and pick a setting at about half. I choose half because you're able to see how far the prills are going when you're walking. If you go too less of a number on your spreader, you're not going to be able to see them very well. And if you go too high, it's going to be too much, and it's just unnecessary. So once you do that, you're going to walk about 10 to 15 feet. That's all you really need because you're not trying to waste a bunch of material, and you're just, again, watching how far the spreader is throwing the material to the edge of the throw. Once you see where the last prill is hit, you're going to stop what you're doing, walk out to that position, and measure off with your wheel how far it is to the center of the spreader, and just times that by 2. Do not use a paved surface like concrete or asphalt, as is going to give a misinterpretation of how far the spreader is throwing. Let's say you measure it out and it turns out to be 15 feet when in reality it's 12. So there's going to be some error in your application and a potential to strike. Once a swath is determined, you're going to divide 1,000 by that number. In our example, we're going to say it's 12 feet. So 1,000 divided by 12 leaves us with 83 feet. This is a number we want to measure out with our measuring wheel or tape measure, and we're going to mark that off. Once we mark that off, we're going to place a 5-gallon bucket on the scale and zero out the scale. You're going to empty the remaining material from your spreader hopper into the bucket, weigh that out, and then get enough material to equal 10 pounds. I choose 10 pounds because it's an easy number to remember, and if you ever have to readjust or redo the calibration again, if you don't hit your number that you want, you have enough material in there where you're able to just reset and do it again and not have to measure back out to 10 pounds. Again, empty the bucket back into the hopper. Once you get your 10 pounds, pick a setting that you think is going to achieve 1.5 pounds. Guess and test method here. There's no scientific math calculation to do so. You just got to pick one and walk it out. So once you walk out the 83 feet, you're going to empty out the hopper into the bucket and weigh it. If your bucket weighs 8.5 pounds, remember we wanted 1.5 pounds, we were at 10, you did it. So record how fast you were walking and also the setting that you were using. If not, adjust the spreader setting accordingly until you achieve the desired amount you wanted. So again, we're going to go over a brief overview. Calibrating saves you time, money, and confirms you are the professional your clients are expecting. Cut the rate in half when using any product that greens up the turf: nitrogen, iron, magnesium, manganese. Keep your equipment clean and service monthly. Thank you guys, appreciate it, and have a great evening.